Hey there, good people. This is Off the Deep End, a Deep Listens podcast where we cover role-playing games in depth. Here is my co-host. His name is Chris, Zombie Pirate Redacted.
What?
I am your host, Braden Arbitrary Water Redacted.
So we're doing a musical now? We've reached the musical episode of our seasonal formatted thing? I thought I was
That,
gonna go back to
Borgmaster, he's not here.
I thought I was gonna go with my old gimmick of telling you puns. Can I ask you a
No,
question, Braden?
yeah, tell me.
Can I ask you a question? Why did the JRPG protagonist bring a ladder to the dungeon? They wanted to reach the next level up. So Borg
Adam
isn't here.
Borgmaster Redactor isn't here. He has been informed by his spouse that he is not to do
Responsibilities.
more podcasts while he is preparing for the hardest video game, fatherhood.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's a
this
commitment.
time it's just us two chucklefucks. But don't worry. Don't worry. We have people lined up. We have stuff to do. But for this show, we're going to talk about a game that I picked. We're going to talk about Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter.
Yep.
Which,
We've played a previous Breath of Fire game. This
yeah,
is a later entry in that same franchise, the next entry
yes,
actually, and it is very much not what we played previously at all.
no, but also it kind of is.
Yes.
So this game came
Plugs,
out.
plugs, plugs,
Oh,
plugs.
right, fuck.
It's been a while.
This is what happens when the main pod eats their fill too many times.
Or we tried to represent the main podcast one too many
Yeah,
times as a joke, and now
as a
we've
joke.
forgotten what our
You can
responsibilities
support us
are.
on Patreon, patreon.com/deeplistens. For $1, you can join our Discord and tell us that all of the Breath of Fire games are good except for the one we played. If you give us $3, we'll talk about anime in your ear
Mm.
with the Ojisan Cast, which is a Patreon exclusive podcast where ZP and me and Pete talk about anime. We're talking about Spice and Wolf in the upcoming episode, which should probably be out by the time you hear this. Uh, you should Patreon us. We haven't gotten any new or a ton of new
Donut.
Patreons recently because I'm still holding the threat of playing the launch version of Raven's Cry over our heads, and yet, dear patrons, and yet. But yes, Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter is the 5th game in the Breath of Fire series. In Japan, it is called Breath of Fire 5 Dragon Quarter. But in the United States and Europe, it is just called Breath of Fire Dragon Quarter. It came out on November 14th, 2002 in Japan for the Sony PlayStation 2. It also came out in the United States and Canada in February 18th, 2003. With some at some point it came out in Europe because that's how Europe works. It was released on PlayStation Network, the PS3 version, only in Japan on 2016 sometime.
Sometime, at some point.
Sometime. Uh, so this game
Is
is not the
it's
Breath of
the
Fire people talk about.
Yeah. So I guess this is where we have to take some time to speak about things, talk about things. So Breath of Fire 1 and 2 are SNES games by Capcom. I believe the main division of Capcom, or one of those main divisions of Capcom. The first game had multiple publishers depending on where you lived. Ubisoft did the EU and GBA release, and even Squaresoft helped them out with the North American SNES release. The second game is a continuation of a lot of that, um, and again, still set in the world of the SNES. The third game is the one that we previously played for the podcast. We
It's
thought it was
pretty
a
good.
pretty good time. It is for the PlayStation 1, and the third game is followed by a fourth, which is almost, I would say, equally beloved as the third. For a lot of people, it's a knife fight between Breath of Fire 3 and Breath of Fire 4. I would say Breath of Fire fans traditionally prefer the fourth game,
It
uh,
depends.
with some wiggle room here and there.
Yes.
Um, and then this is the game
This is
outside of the gotcha game that is widely considered the bad one.
or the one that killed the franchise, let's say. So this was directed by Makoto Ikehara, who also directed Breath of Fire 3.
Mhm.
And he has a bunch of other credits. It seems like he is still uh, has some association with Capcom. As recently as Street Fighter 6, he is credited. So this guy is a longtime Capcom employee. The credits for this game are a lot of people who worked on Breath of Fire 3 and 4. So it is not a question of different people taking the reins. It is a question of the people in charge choosing to go a different direction. And at the time, the game reviewed fairly well. A lot of sevens and eights, but it had the misfortune of coming out a year after Final Fantasy X with no voice acting and not a bajillion dollars of production value. And it sold well enough, but not well enough for them to keep making Breath of Fire games until a mobile gotcha game called Breath of Fire 6, which you know,
So this is also the one that has not been re-released in any way,
no,
shape, or
this game
form.
has not been
So
re-released outside of a
one and
Japan
two
only
were
PS3
re-released
digital
on
release.
1 and 2 were re-released on GBA as well as Switch.
Yes.
The third game at least came to the PlayStation Network and PlayStation. I think even the PlayStation TV program had a version of it.
Yeah.
They even re-released it on PlayStation. The I think the original PSP.
Yes.
Um,
It
this
was
is
a
the one
PlayStation Classics game, and
they
4 had a PC version, which
yep.
is now on everything because of GOG.
Thank you, GOG. Doing the Lord's work over there. But this game is the one that lives and dies on the PlayStation 2, and no work has ever been done to bring it to modern systems other than I think there was a PlayStation Store PS2 archives version for it on
Yes.
PlayStation 3, which is the most recent chance that
Only
you
in
had.
Japan.
Yeah, you're right. It was only in Japan, but that was the most recent uh, chance you had to make it on or add it to your library. And even that, again, was only in Japan. And then plus that game was delisted in 2018, 2019. So not exactly a big one. Not exactly something that Capcom has a massive amount of fondness for. And it's also seems to be kind of the game where it sold okay. And this leads to the point that you made, which is some fans that don't like this game characterize it as being the game that killed the franchise. And going back to our Breath of Fire 3 podcast, and I think this is a point that Jeff made when we still had him and he joined our conversation. This franchise, or actually, was it Gino? Yeah, time is eternal. This
It
was never a big series. This
it
was
was
never a huge
always
moneymaker.
Breath of Fire was always your third favorite JRPG series, and I know there will be people who are like, "No, I loved Breath of Fire," and it's like, yeah, but did you have any other JRPGs? I'll say this: Breath of Fire 3 and 4 are better.
The pe-
This was the third JRPG I ever
this is
played.
supremely mean. Finish your thing. Sorry, I apologize.
It's Breath of Fire 3 is a much better. This is the third JRPG I ever played than Legend of Dragoon.
The people who say Breath of Fire 3 or 4 is their favorite JRPG, you're in the same group as the people who say Golden Sun 2 is your favorite JRPG.
You're just 5 years older.
Yeah.
Uh, so yes, this game aesthetically and tonally is a very different look, and I think, and then we'll get into the structure of how it is played because that feels like the thing that people were not willing to deal with at the time. Uh, JRPG sequels making weird left turn swerves it still was in fashion here and there, I would say, by 2003. There's still there are like some weird ass Wild Arms games that people say do some weird stuff. I think those are should we ever play a Wild Arms game?
Probably. Probably.
Probably.
Um yeah, there are Wild Arm games that I think people genuinely love. And dear listeners, if you're out there, the Slush Fund fan pick program is Dunzo. But if you have an idea as to which one of those we would start, I think it's the third one. I think it's the
People
third.
say 3.
I don't know. I'm not an expert.
I don't believe them.
I don't believe them
I know
either. I'm
4
not
is
an
the
expert.
bad one.
Which again gets back to our
And the
conversation about
Tactics
this game.
spin-off is also the bad one.
Yeah. So we went into this. Well, there's two arguments that this is either a hidden classic or a hidden gem for the PlayStation 2, or this is the game that killed the franchise. Like there's no kind of ifs, ands, or buts. And looking at the reviews, whether it be, GamePro, GameSpot, Edge, EGM, this reviewed in the 7 to 8 range, which seems about
Yeah,
okay. Um, and for a lot of people, it was judged for what it wasn't more so than what it was, which
because
I
it
think
is not a follow-up to Breath of Fire 4, nor is it as visually impressive as some of those early PlayStation 2 JRPGs that really go
had s-
for it.
have some very, very, very good sprite work. But
We've played Xenosaga.
the previous games, I think 3 and 4, play around with sprites in 3D backgrounds.
Yeah.
This is the first using fully 3D dimensional graphics for characters and environments. And you can tell that this is a studio that, or the team that was kind of out of their element. Looking at it,
And
the
yeah,
listed developer is Capcom Production Studio 3, which was a B team. They did the Mega Man games for PlayStation. That's X5, X6, X7, and Command Mission. And then later did assistant work on Resident Evil 2 and 3, as well as Code Veronica. and apparently have helped Kaguya with Dead Aim and the director's cut
Yeah.
edition of Resident Evil. So they were kind of like a group of Capcom veteran people that were told to help the other teams over here, help the group over there.
Yes.
They have very
You
few
were the
games.
support team. Um, you were the yeah this was not the highest budget. They were not
No.
getting the same sort of production money as what's a Capcom game from 2003?
Oh shit. Well, it's not gonna be
Devil May Cry 2. Oh,
shit. Dino Crisis 3, dude.
Dino Crisis 3. Uh,
And then didn't they put out a Clock Tower game in 2003? Was that
Clock
Clock Tower
Tower
3?
3.
That game's terrible. Um,
It's no Haunting Ground,
but anyway, so this is not an A team that
but
normally does
it
their
is
own thing.
still a lot of people who worked on the previous games. It
And
is
it's a lot of people who are more accustomed to sprite-based work because again, they
yeah.
did the X games, the X game or the X series of Mega Man, which that game has an interesting, at least in the good ones, an interesting mix of 2D, 3D. Um, so I like the aesthetics of Breath of Fire, Dragon Quarter. I think you would agree with me. The fidelity is kind of a
No.
problem.
So it's doing very like simple cartoony. I'm not going to say cell shaded because I don't think that fits. But it's very low polygon, like low detail sort of thing. Uh of these characters, they have very clean designs and they are not that complicated.
Yeah,
And
and
the environments themselves are uh let's say they are very dingy on purpose.
yeah, like I said, the aesthetics and the mood and tone of the game, I would say, is pretty good to great.
Yes.
The industrial town, whether or not you feel like this game is this team's response to Final Fantasy, in particular Final Fantasy 2, finally, I think is debatable because we are so many years removed from that game. But it's science fiction, industrial steampunk in a
Yes.
franchise that hasn't previously delved in any of those themes and thematics. And
Yeah.
the feel of it is great. Again,
It is grungy and kind of hopeless. The entire game takes place in this underground civilization. Something bad happened on the surface, and at the start, it's very much like, okay, you are a grunt. Uh, your character, who goes by the default name Ryu, still.
mhm.
Uh, you are you are doomed to be a grunt forever because you do not have a good enough D ratio. Uh, and so as we talked about in our Breath of Fire 3 podcast, these games do not slight, they do not shy away from doing fucked up shit, but they
Yeah,
are
Time to
still
War
like
Crime's
very
still pretty good.
colorful. Yeah, they're very colorful and they are more overtly fantasy. Whereas this game is, yeah, grungy, science fiction, vaguely steampunky.
And it makes the same dark twists and turns as previous games and the franchise. I would say, uh, the f- uh, it's really this really does become a discussion about the format and structure of the game. But I would say tonally, it is on par with the previous game.
Yeah,
This world feels hopeless. The impediments that you face are massive. There are ultimately two major subplots. The first is the six mysterious rulers of the underground world
yep,
and kind of like figuring things out with who you're supposed to kind of beat up and figure out. And then the major plot thread is wanting to ascend the spiral staircase to the surface and being free of this kind of dilapidated, oppressive industrial town
Rescuing
underneath
a winged
the ground.
girl named Nina,
Yeah.
which, hey, once again, a carryover. I'll say the other big aesthetic change is that they got Hitoshi Sakamoto to do the music. And
Correct.
now that's not maybe not as much of a household name, but if you have heard a Hitoshi Sakamoto score, you would recognize it because he has done such games as Final Fantasy Tactics, Tactics Ogre, Final Fantasy 12, Vagrant Story, Odin Sphere, Valkyria Chronicles, Dragons. Basically, every single Ivalice Final Fantasy game, and then a bunch of Vanillaware stuff. So it is a very different sounding soundtrack. It is heavy, orchestral. It is very good. I think in particular, I think the boss theme is fantastic, but it is a much different soundscape than the previous games. But yeah, let's talk about what this game is because we've been
Yeah.
dancing around it. So you are Ryu. You are a grunt doing anime JRPG grunt work. You have to escort and protect a package from a definitely not evil genetics lab. Things go south. It turns out the package is a girl with wings named Nina, and you've got to help her go to the surface. But along the way, you are granted the power of the dragon because it's still a Breath of Fire game. But unlike previous Breath of Fire games, but also like previous Breath of Fire games, turning into a dragon, uh, not a good thing
Yeah. You actually want
necessarily.
to avoid it for the most part.
So here is the core mechanic that all of Dragon Quarter revolves around is your what is it? Your D
Oh, so the D
the
ratios.
the D ratio is how much dragon juice you have,
The
and then
most you can
there's
achieve is 1/4, and that's where the title
that's a
Dragon
new
Quarter
game
comes
plus
from.
thing. But then there's
I'm just mentioning
also
it.
yeah, there's also the
Positive encounter and tactics system, pets,
yes, pets.
because this is Capcom used this quote,
Yep.
combined real-time and turn-based combat system.
It's not.
It really isn't. It's
It's
turn-based.
it's turn it in some ways it presages something like
They even call your characters are allocated 8 active points AP
yeah.
at the start of their turn, with the number decreasing with every step and attack you make.
Yeah.
Um, and similar to previous games, like there are 3 levels of attacks, with higher levels usually translating into stronger attacks or abilities that
Yes, and
impact
you
a wide
can
field of characters.
you can chain moves together to increase damage. that the combo system in that is definitely, there's some similar stuff there, but I would say the biggest difference with Dragon Quarter's combat is it is about positioning. It is extremely positioning focused because you only have one melee character.
Yeah,
You have you have
three
three party
characters overall.
members overall. You have Ryu, you have Nina, and you have Lin.
Win.
You also have Bosch for a little bit, but he's the guy in the tutorial who betrays you.
Yeah,
Uh,
he fucks you over.
he fucks you over. But yeah, so the first spell Nina gets, for example, is a fire trap. It is a thing you put on the ground that if an enemy passes it, they will get blown up. And you can stack multiple of them on top of each other. But the goal there is to avoid taking hits. Because especially early on, Ryu you're kind of bad. He's kind of bad at fighting. And even before you have to deal with the D counter, uh, you are encouraged to, like, okay, you want to approach fights in a way that is advantageous to you. You should throw traps or bait to distract enemies or do something that will give you a first strike on them. You in combat, your characters have a certain number of action points that can be spent on both movement and attacks, and special arts. Item use is free.
Yep.
Which is crucial because this is the kind of game where if you aren't using items to survive, you are going to have a bad time.
Yeah.
And then, Chris, what happens? What happens after, like, the early tutorial area when
Oh,
a percentile gauge shows up?
well, it gives you an absurd amount, something that's just laughable at first. So, the scenario overlay system. Um, certain areas and specific plot points in the game are only accessible if your D ratio is high enough, because the higher up you go, the higher the social standing you need to have or be to be in that area. You start as 1 over 8,000 or 100 and something. And so this results in the weirdest part of the gameplay, which I
Yes.
know this is technically not where you want to go, but we kind of have to talk about this. You cannot beat this game in one playthrough.
No.
Period. It's not
So,
possible.
I mean,
Um,
it is, but it's not
it's not
fun.
recommended.
You shouldn't.
So you need to.
There, after, like, the opening part of the story, when you get the power of the dragon, there is a percentage bar in the top right of the screen that is constantly ticking up as long as you are moving. It's
Yep.
ticking up slowly, but when it reaches 100,
It turns
Ryu
into a
turns into a
dragon.
dragon and destroys the world.
And
And you have
after
to
you see
start
that,
over again with all of your stats and abilities carried over.
which is
And
the
I think
important thing,
items.
I would say for the average player,
It's like
reaching
Dead
the bad
Rising.
end. Yeah, it's
Like,
Dead Rising. It's also
this
like a
was
bad end.
clearly an inspiration for Dead Rising's
It's
system.
going to happen to most people in that, when I first played Dead Rising, that blew my fucking mind. I was like not accustomed. I didn't play roguelike. So the idea, it's like, oh shit, I mission failed, bad end. Oh wait, no, I just try again. I just try again. Okay, got it. And so that's the thing about this game, which is I would say the average person is probably gonna reach 100%, have Ryu turn into a dragon, blow up the world, and then carry over. And like I said, you're going to have in your second go, you might have to replay the same content again, but there are going to be certain areas that are now accessible because your D ratio is, or not your D ratio, but
Yes,
your social standing is
your
higher.
D ratio has gone up.
Yeah.
The
And
ratio
so
is the fraction, the dragon fraction, and
now you can go to
the D
different
gauge
spots.
is the percentage. So, yes, on subsequent playthroughs, you unlock their extra cutscenes, their extra areas. Even sometimes shortcuts will open up. So the game is built around you trying to tackle it multiple times.
So something I was
And
slightly confused by, and sorry to interrupt, but do you need to reach 100% to reset the game? Can you reset
no,
before you
no,
reach
you can
100 or
reset it whenever you want.
okay.
It's an option on the menu.
Right. I don't know if like that's the speed run tactic or like if there's I always just waited for me to reach 100%, which
Yeah.
I know basically does gate you to where you have less to do and you're just kind of running around, but getting core stats and getting your core stats up is valuable in this game. Um, the progression of your characters, even though I would say with Nina and Lynn, is a bit meh. They're basically there for support,
Lynn does not do enough damage for being a ranged character.
which sucks.
It
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 really
feels
does.
it also feels very intentional in the way that your characters kind of feel like you are constantly fighting uphill early on. Like even in the tutorial parts, you are kind of scraping.
I would even
And
say that Ryu is carries the party
yes,
most of the game
and
by a
and
not
sometimes
insignificant.
and the game tempts you into turning into a dragon and using those dragon abilities by making some fights just fucking hard.
So,
And the drag unsurprisingly turning into a dragon, you can wipe shit off the floor. But every single time you use an attack, that meter goes up by 1% or 2%.
which in the grand scheme of things is a big jump
It
for doing
yes,
one move.
it is survival horror-esque in the way it is asking you to conserve your resources and use them wisely. Because the game itself is not super long, and the game in fact will the game will reward you if you beat it in 8 hours or less. But
Mhm.
that is a new game plus sort of ordeal.
Yeah.
uh but even counting restarts, the how long to beat for this game is like 25 hours.
Yeah, and so there comes this point where it's a risk reward thing, right? It's like, what if I one shot this boss by popping a dragon ability and just now I'm able to like get a bunch of resources and things and opportunities to power grinds in areas where I'm not supposed to be at this stage of the game. And it's there's opportunities for you to like do some real risk reward mental math in your head. And that's interesting. It's at least interesting to me. I kind of like that. You're a fan of this game, so I'm going to make a comparison. There is a element to this game that reminded me a lot of Lightning Returns. The
Sure.
whole trying to get the most out of a day before the timer expires,
Yeah.
right? And there comes the point of you really pushing your luck. It's like, I could just go back and be safe and call it a day. I could avoid this side quest, but if I do it now, then I open up my itinerary to do more stuff later.
Yes.
And that kind of becomes how this game works, where I can press my luck, possibly get KO'd. I can press my luck and use a dragon ability to one shot something. I can press my luck and do this or that. But will I be able to pull it off? And
Yeah.
if not, then I have to deal with the consequence.
You have to deal with
Good
the
news is that
consequences, which also this game has fucking ink ribbons.
mhm,
By the
yeah.
way, uh, like if you die during a boss fight, you can do like sometimes the game will give you like a soft continue. But for the most part, if you die, you have to go back to the last save point and you have to use a save token to save.
So that's something that you never forget about. Like you don't ignore that. You don't forget about that. It happened to me once and I would immediately just, it's kind of like one of those things where you make the mistake once and then you just keep that in your pocket for the rest of your playthrough. And to be honest, I restored. I opened up my failed state and then just made a completely different informed decision about how to carry my affairs. But I don't know, man. As someone that wasn't supremely married to the previous Breath of Fire games, I find the first two games to be a little too decrepit, like ancient, old school, crusty
Yeah.
JRPGs. And we obviously had a good time with three.
Yeah.
I haven't played four.
I bet 4
So
is also good.
I kind of, I'm sorry, fans. I thought this game was cool, man. I don't know what else to say. I thought this game was cool.
Okay, yeah, fine. We've spent a lot of time describing how this game plays. I think this game is fucking rad and deserves the kind of overlooked cult classic uh reputation that something like Shadow Hearts Covenant does.
Yeah, like
Like,
navigating it has a weird, so the way that the map works and like the map system alerts you to nearby doors and treasures and enemies, which is a great quality of life thing. It just tells you, hey, there's some stuff over here. Check it out. But then again, you open the door, there might be some bad shit there. So there's almost a classic CRPG element of like filling the map, but at what cost, at what risk. And I love filling the map in my blobbers. I love filling the map in most of my old school CRPGs and new school CRPGs with that kind of hook. I even like it in my Etrian Odysseys. And it's not 100% one to one in this game, what you do here, but that reward is there. That mechanic, that kind of like carrot at the end of the stick is there. It's like, hey, here's something that you could open up, but can you do it? I thought it was cool.
you want to
So,
deal with the thing behind that door?
so this game's basically a roguelike. And
It
it
is,
feels
yeah.
like it was a bit too ahead of the curve in that
It
regard.
feels a little bit ahead of its time for the kind of game JRPG players were expecting in 2003,
Yeah.
2002. So, yeah, it's very cool. You have to accept that you are going to restart at least once, probably more. I certainly had to restart more than once.
And it's not that big of a deal.
It's not a
It
big
really
deal
isn't.
because
It really isn't.
you can zoom through those earlier areas, and the game is built around that.
Yeah, there's no better feeling than it has that same JRPG classic JRPG game juice where you do go up against things that previously kicked your ass and you can just smoke them. Smoke them with like that. Like,
Yeah,
not even breaking a sweat, and that feeling is always great in JRPGs, right? And you get to do that, and I think that the biggest thing that sometimes people complain about is that getting back to par can be a bit of a chore, and I do agree that it's takes some, like, rejiggering in your head. It's not actually that bad to get back to where you lost. You know, maybe you went up against a boss and you got your ass kicked. It doesn't actually take you hours. I saw that in a game FAQs. Man, fuck, I got destroyed by the boss and it took me like an hour. It's like, no, you probably were going up in the right direction and then you got distracted by a side quest. Like, I don't know what to tell you. But it
yeah,
doesn't take that long to get where you last were.
yes, and like any given JRPG from this era, there's also a weird side game involving uh collecting a bunch of adorable weird fairies to dig tunnels, and like a lot of those sub quests, you don't really need to engage with it that much. You just need to engage with it enough to get money, which uh especially in your first run through the game is going to be a problem.
Yeah. It's again, like there really is that first moment where once you wrap your mind around the fact that you're probably not going to get this in your first session and you can just lean into the whole SOL restore function, you start to actually even like take advantage of it. Like you said, you can like cut your losses and be like, hey, you know what? I'm clearly in a bad way. Let's restore now. Which is kind of something that I've heard people talk about now that I think about it. That's like, yeah, you know what sucks in some old school JRPGs is being stuck in a dungeon and needing to make the walk of
Long
shame
trek
back to
back.
town.
Yeah.
It's like, and then feeling like you can't make that walk back. Well, guess what? You press a button and you go back. And now, yeah, sure, you're back at square one, but you know that now, whatever you do, you're probably safe for like 10, 15 minutes now. And you can get your bearings straight again. So it makes some quality of life changes that I think are pretty good. And um it feels almost like it should have maybe found a different solution for a random encounter system, honestly. This feels like it should have been the game that had like real world instancing instead of a random encounter system.
Yeah. But
But I'm not.
also, when you encounter enemies, uh, when you encounter enemies in the world, it's definitely like Chrono Trigger style, where uh, if you encounter enough enemies close to each other, they will all be in the same fight.
Mhm. Sure, fair enough. The only thing that I think is that I think it's something that we've already talked about. I think the fact that only one of your real characters really matters in combat is kind of a bummer. Feels like it's trying to build up this dynamism with the party, but literally one of them's a healer. The
Yeah,
other just kind of pokes people in the eye with ranged attacks, but never is quite capable of killing them.
she eventually the way Lynn's skills work is weird because you basically put together different words and that changes the properties of her combos. It's one of those things where uh like I would say like a lot of games for Sarah where it's like, okay, you had a really neat idea that doesn't actually matter that much. And yeah, whereas Ryu is melee and then Nina is yes, your healing and magic character who should not be anywhere near melee and you should put up a bunch of firewalls. But yeah, so
It's
it's
interesting.
cool. I can understand why this game is not.
It almost I really do wonder, as people in our Discord have pointed out over and over again, would this game have gotten a better shot had they just made this without the Breath of Fire name on it?
Yeah,
And I don't know.
I don't know because it still
But
has plenty of Breath of Fire in it. It's just different enough and different from the game that people wanted.
it has the spirit of the game. It doesn't have the language of the game all as often as you would maybe assume or want if you're a diehard fan. But like I said, if you're talking about the classic franchises of Capcom, like this is not even in the top 10. It's not even in the top 10. It's like Resident Evil, Monster Hunter, Street Fighter, Mega Man, Devil May Cry, Dead Rising. I would even put above Breath of
Yeah.
Fire, Ace
Well, yeah,
Attorney,
because there's
Dragon's
been a
Dogma,
Dead
Marvel
Rising
vs.
game in the last 20
Capcom.
years that
It's
wasn't a
like
gotcha.
they have so many more franchises that they care about. This is always kind of a weird side project for them. And
And
then, like, if they
yeah,
actually trusted this product, they wouldn't have given it to a support studio.
to well, yeah, smaller studio.
I would
And
even
you
say
know,
Sony
to some
Lucia
extent it's
developer.
also like the PS2 generation was the last time games like this made
Got
sense
made.
for big Japanese publishers because Lord knows JRPGs had a bad time during the 360 generation.
And that was not a great time for Capcom. I
And it
mean, they
was
got
not a
lucky
great
that
time
Resident
for
Evil 5.
Capcom or, you know, Japanese game development in general.
I mean,
Uh
Capcom got lucky in that Resident Evil 5 was mostly good except the racism, and then
Yeah,
Resident Evil 6 is bad, but at least it made a
but
shit
I
ton of
like
money for
it.
them.
Yeah. Uh, and then yeah, it it does not feel like you know how people talk about Nintendo bringing back F-Zero or Star Fox or before Metroid Dread came out, Metroid, and the thing you would always hear back is like there needs to be someone at the company who cares enough and has enough social capital to greenlight something like that.
Or advocate for the
Yeah, or
franchise.
advocate it. And if
That person
Capcom
doesn't
can't
exist for
get
series.
if Capcom can't make a Dino Crisis remake, which was apparently in development at one point and then got canceled, then I see no world
2,
in
3,
which
4,
they
5.
will make a new Breath of Fire, either of the
Like,
old or of this game style.
I'm looking at it, like, the Dead Rising franchise still has a higher total sales number than the Ace Attorney franchise, and they haven't done anything to revive Dead Rising.
They did that remake,
They did that remake, but that's as far as they're gonna go, probably for a while.
maybe. Yeah.
Maybe. They're
Let's
only
not talk
now
about
getting
Dead
around
Rising 4.
they're only now getting around to Onimusha getting some
Yeah, Onimusha.
respect.
Onimusha, a franchise that died in 2006. Uh, More valuable IP to Capcom.
I think that if you're a fan of, the Breath of Fire games, play and buy and play the GOG release of 4.
Yeah,
Show them that that kind of classic game release is something that you really do appreciate.
yeah.
And while I know that we've talked about it during our streams, yes, the classic Resident Evil games have indeed come out for Steam. Buy the GOG version.
Buy the GOG version because they don't have weird DRM on them,
They don't have weird DRM. Also, GOG just genuinely does better customer support. They're better
and
versions.
it's
Period.
easier to work with mods. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, so yeah, I'm trying to think. Are there any? I don't feel like this is a game of moments and set pieces as much as
I
it is
I
like
so it's weird because the game's story really doesn't kick in until the back half of this.
yes.
Whereas like this game, like 3 has some fucking metal ass
3
moments. Like we
goes
had so
hard
many.
immediately.
Um but like I said, it's like there's a rivalry between Ryu and Bosch. Bosch betrayed you. And so now Bosch is the evil rival that constantly is stabbing you in the back while you go up on the staircase. You're encountering these lords of these different realms in the underground. Wouldn't you believe it? Most of them have become corrupted. You find these dragons that are these hosts. The biggest one that later becomes a recurring figure is Olgin.
Yep.
I don't remember how to pronounce it. Olgin is the first host dragon, and he ends up becoming the big one. And then you fight Elion, and after you fight Elion, you really start to get this whole backstory of like humanity is trying to reclaim the skies and trying to get back to where it once was. And I saw the ending of the game. I didn't actually play the game to the point to where I experienced the ending in
We
person,
had things this last month.
uh but there comes a moment where after you defeat Bosch, he merges with a dragon named Chertier or something like that. They make this abomination Ryu has to sacrifice himself to kill this thing, though it does play out after you beat them in a boss encounter. Ryu dies. Nina and Lin go up to the land above.
The surface.
Olgin asks Ryu a couple of questions, and while Lin and Nina grieve, Olgin just restores Ryu back to life, which honestly is the one part of the story that I really don't like. This is a franchise that lives on the prospect of death being permanent and kind of death being this ever recurring thing. So just kill the characters. Fuck, I don't know. Just kill them. And yeah, it's not exactly, it doesn't have the moments that we kind of remember from Breath of Fire. See, I fucking did it. I knew I was going to do it. Breath of Fire 3. It doesn't have those really sticks with you moments as Breath of Fire 3. There's nothing quite like an abomination asking you to raise its child while you lower it into a vat of
Yeah.
lava.
And then that child becomes your friendly little plant bud.
There's not a moment where you and a former companion fight over a pile of skulls that are your former family members.
At no point do Bebop and Rocksteady run around and start stabbing children.
Kidnapping children too.
Yeah.
But
I would say the narrative in this game is it's pretty it's
it's
pretty light for the
atmospheric.
first half. It is more about vibes and general like it is very objective driven. It is very much like we need to get to the surface. What is the thing that is stopping us from getting to the surface?
There are some merchants, some people in the small towns and boonies that you
There are side
interact with that are
quests.
memorable in and of themselves, but they're all just living with it. And the ambiguity as to what is the actual reward of going to the surface, or like how does this help all of these people that you meet with, it's just left ambiguous, which I
Yeah.
kind of like, but I could understand why maybe that's a bit
Oh,
frustrating.
I like that.
It's almost like not to shit. Fuck. Am I actually gonna make a comparison to Dante's?
Oh, you mean Dante's Inferno, my favorite God of War clone.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
Nah, I'm not gonna make that
No.
comparison. I'm just gonna throw it out there. But
I think
this game is fun. It's a damn shame that it's like you basically got to go out there and find those corners of the internet
I'll
to play it
say it's
today.
not I own a physical copy of the game. It was not especially expensive,
Yeah,
but
it just isn't
also it
held
has
in
gone
that
up.
high enough a regard, though.
Yeah. This game is not a Panzer Dragoon
No.
where where
Yeah, I'm
it
looking
it
at it.
has obtained cult status and then us little chuckleheads play it and we're like, "Oh no, this game's cult status is warranted." If there's
This
one
game's fun.
game we played
It's
on
it's
Off the
just
Deep End
fun.
that you should play, that if you haven't played it already, play Panzer Dragoon Saga. If there are two games that we've played for Off the Deep End that if you haven't played, you should play Ancient Roman.
Yeah. But if you want to see like a modern proto roguelike that's got the juice,
It's got a lot of good
got the
ideas and
game
follows up
juice.
on most of them.
The
It is,
only real thing other than like some backtracking stuff in some of the dungeons, especially near the later portion of the game, aren't
yeah,
great. It's just a lot of Byzantine
yeah.
labyrinths.
But the game scope itself is contained and small enough that it doesn't feel overwhelming.
But yeah, the big
Like
problem I have is like that
the
graphical fidelity
JRPGs
issue.
of the PS2 era, I feel like this is when JRPGs started to go big, like very big. Like here's this immaculately expensive CG intro big, right? And this is not that. This takes the opposite tack of let's get weird. And also, we don't have enough money to do a immaculately animated CG intro. It's only one DVD.
Yep. And
All right. Yeah.
I generally enjoyed my time with this game.
I
I
more
will
than generally
probably
enjoyed.
I will probably finish it off stream.
Yes.
I probably will continue to tell people that this is just maybe misunderstood. I'm not going to become a proselytizer. I'm not going to become like one of those people that really
Yeah.
feels like
When
there's
I started playing
a
this
fear.
game, I was very close to being one of those people who's like, is this game an underappreciated gem? And I think it is.
It
But
is. It's
also,
underappreciated, but
this is
does it
not a
deserve?
game that I like this game a lot. I think people should try it. I will not evangelize for it as hard as I would some other games we've played, like Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Yep.
But it's good.
It's good. It's a good game. It's a solid game. And to a degree, I hate to use this term, but it's workmanlike. It gets the
Yeah,
job done.
there
It
there
took
are
an
parts of it that
ambitious
are
risk,
very yeah.
and it's good.
It's
It's
good.
good.
Let's
It's not
rank it.
great, but it's good.
Yeah. Let's rank it. All right. You can find this list of video games that we rank for this stupid podcast we do on bit.ly/OTDE rank. The top 3 games on our list right now are Might and Magic 6: The Mandate of Heaven, Suikoden, and Xenosaga Episode 1 Der Wilsermacht. The bottom 3 at 91 is Unlimited Saga, 92 is Hoshiwo Mirohito, and 93 is Descent to Undermountain. In the middle of the the list is at number 49 Hybrid Heaven, as God ordained. Where do you want to start here? Do you want to just pull off the band-aid and say, is this better or worse than Breath of Fire 3?
It's better than it's worse than Breath of Fire 3. It's better than Hybrid Heaven though, so it's above
Yeah.
the line of mediocrity.
I would put this above Breath of Fire 3, but also I have, you know, me and my
You just
tendencies,
don't like
my
mid-tier.
proclivity towards novelty,
Mhm. I don't know.
but
It's just that
also
I remembered the story of Breath of Fire 3.
you're right.
I like the sprites more in Breath of Fire 3. It's a better package.
Sure. Yeah. You're right. I will accept your argument even if in my mind I would put this as a top 20. Um okay, is this game better or
What's
worse
immediately
than
below Breath of Fire 3 then?
NBA 2K16
It's
featuring a
better than
Spike Lee
that.
joint? It's
How
worse
about
than
this?
that.
I can negotiate. Just put it below Breath of Fire 3.
Okay. You're saying it's better than Vic teaching you, Ghost Vic teaching you about.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, I'm so
Congratulations
disappointed
to our
by
new
our
number
fans for not
23,
pointing
Breath of
out that
Fire
Spike
Dragon
Lee
Quarter.
did another NBA 2K story. How could you, our dear listeners, allow that to happen? You should
No
have
one,
told us.
no one. I have not heard anyone talk about the new NBA 2K story that Spike Lee did, and that means it's either like a boring generic sports game story mode, or we just don't talk to anyone who plays sports games anymore. And I'm frankly, I need to know: is it good, or is it forgettable? Because God, NBA 2K16 story is something.
Maybe he just made a standard ass basketball story, which would be a real bummer. But yeah, no, let's just put it below Breath of Fire 3.
All right, we put it
So,
below Breath of
dear
Fire 3.
listeners, you have now listened to Braden and I record a podcast, just the two of us. And as much as you are likely here because of us, and the podcast has just been the two of us before, we also understand that variety is the spice of life. Right, Braden?
It helps to have a third voice in the room because you and I are weird freaks.
I also don't
So,
pet
we
despite some
have
things here and there.
some guests lined
in
up
person.
for the next couple months, including one Jeff Rude, if you've ever heard of him. But our next game, I gave one of our guests a list of our fan picks, and he said this one sounds cool. So for our next podcast, you and I and a very special guest will be playing Lost Odyssey, which the main podcast technically did a podcast about like 9 years ago or whatever the fuck. But
Who gives a shit?
who gives a shit?
Who's
I want
stopping
to play
us?
it. I want to play Lost Odyssey, so we're gonna do that next. It came on 4 DVDs for the Xbox 360.
Mm-hmm.
I hear it has a lot of reading, so you can look forward to that at some point in the future, which I'm told is now. Let's see. Thank you to SuperSex420 for the use of their song Halfway, which is the song that I use to open and close this song because I like it, and also because I don't want to look for new music when Jeff already found some. You can
pour one out for Spiders, man.
pour one out for our friends at Spiders, who were caught up in Nakon's meltdown and are no longer a video game studio.
We might have to do something for Spiders.
We might have to do something to memorialize Spiders, maker of genuinely some of the most god-awful RPGs I've ever played.
But man, they had ambition and they really wanted
sure
to be
did
the
try.
next BioWare.
Bound by Flame.
I remember
Bound
your
by
original
Flame is
post
something
about
I
that.
want to inflict on someone else. Mars Warlogs is genuinely reprehensible.
Boy, yeah. Pour one out for Spiders.
Pour one out for Spiders. That French Revolution robot Souls-like you made was actually not bad.
It's completely passable.
Just
which
completely
is
passable.
why I found it deeply not compelling.
Yeah. So you can find me on Twitch under Arbitrary Water. You can find him on Twitch under Arbitrary Water. You can't find Borgmaster on Twitch because his wife won't let him.
Zombie Pie.
He's Zombie Pie. I'm Arbitrary Water. There's no such thing as cheating in a single-player game, especially since, although you probably still want to restart because you get more story stuff. I mean, you could cheat, but the whole point is the deep. Bye.